Many times the people society overlooks end up holding the biggest secrets. When a struggling waitress in a quiet Georgia diner showed kindness to a frail old man, she never imagined that one day, 4 men in black suits and his lawyers would walk in, turning her world upside down forever. Stay tuned, because what you're about to hear will break your heart, restore your faith in humanity, and shock you to your core. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and keep your eyes on the screen, because this story changes everything. It was a slow Tuesday morning at Maple and Main Diner, the kind of place where the coffee was always hot, the biscuits always flaky, and the regulars came not for the food but for the warmth. The neon sign outside buzzed softly, half-lit like everything else in the small southern town of Ashbrook, where time seemed to crawl slower than syrup on a winter morning. Inside, the smell of bacon and cinnamon clung to the air, and the chatter of truckers mixed with the old radio playing Motown classics. Behind the counter stood Tanya Rivers, 28 years old, a hard-working single mother with tired eyes but a smile that could lift a room. Her dark curls were tucked beneath a faded red headband, and her apron bore coffee stains that told stories of double shifts and late nights. She wasn't supposed to be on the morning shift, but her coworker called in sick again, so Tanya wiped her hands, adjusted her name tag, and told herself, just another day. That's when the bell above the door jingled softly, and in walked the old man no one paid attention to. He was frail, maybe in his late 70s, his shoulders hunched as though the years had folded him in half. He always wore the same beige coat, too big, too old, and carried a small brown leather satchel that he never let go of. He never talked much. He'd sit in the corner booth by the window, order a black coffee, and stare outside as though waiting for someone who never came. The first time Tanya served him, she noticed something most didn't, his hands. They trembled slightly, but not from weakness, more like the echo of something that used to be steady, controlled, disciplined. The kind of hands that built things. Or maybe, wrote important things. "Morning, sir," she greeted, setting down his coffee. "Want me to warm up your usual?" He looked up slowly, eyes pale and cloudy but still sharp somehow. "You remember me?" "Of course," she smiled. "You come in every Tuesday and Friday, sit by that window like it's your favorite TV show." That got a small smile out of him. "It's the light. Reminds me of mornings from long ago." Tanya nodded, not pressing further. She'd learned not to. Some people came to the diner for food, others for silence. Over the next few weeks, something changed. The old man started showing up every day. He never talked about himself, but Tanya noticed things, how his coat got thinner, how his cough got rougher, and how his satchel looked heavier, like it carried more than just papers. One rainy afternoon, when the diner was empty, he coughed so hard he spilled his coffee. Tanya rushed over with a napkin. "You okay, sir?" He tried to wave her off but she held his wrist, frail, cold, trembling. "You're shivering. You sure you're all right?" He sighed. "I'll be fine. I've survived worse." She poured him a fresh cup and slid it over. "On the house." He looked up, surprised. "You can't do that. You'll get in trouble." She smirked. "Let me worry about that. My boss isn't here, and besides, sometimes kindness is worth more than coffee." That was the moment everything started. Day after day, Tanya would make sure he ate something, even if he only ordered coffee, she'd sneak him a slice of pie or a biscuit. Sometimes she'd see him struggling with his satchel, and one day curiosity got the better of her. "What's in there?" she asked playfully. He hesitated. "Memories," he said softly. She smiled. "Heavy ones, huh?" He nodded slowly. "The kind that never leave." Weeks passed, and little by little, she learned his name, Mr. Walter Graham. He was once a history professor, he told her. Lost his wife 5 years ago. No children, just a quiet life, a pension that barely covered rent, and a heart too full of regret. But something about him didn't add up. His shoes were worn but expensive leather. His hands, though old, bore faint scars, not from teaching, but from something else. And once, when his satchel fell open, Tanya caught a glimpse of a thick envelope stamped with the seal of a law firm in New York City. "Everything okay, Mr. Graham?" she asked, handing it back. He cleared his throat, a little too fast. "Old papers. Just old business." Tanya didn't pry, but something told her that business wasn't small. The more she helped him, the closer they grew. She started walking him home after her shift, just a few blocks to a shabby apartment near the edge of town. He always tried to pay her for her time, but she refused. "You already pay me," she said with a grin. "With stories." He chuckled at that, and sometimes, when the wind howled outside and rain beat against the diner windows, He'd tell her tales from his youth, lecturing at Columbia, meeting his wife in a library, writing a book that was never published. But beneath his warmth was a sadness so deep it felt ancient. One night, as she helped him to his door, she asked quietly, "You ever wish you could go back?" He looked at her, eyes glistening. "Every single day, my dear. But sometimes, life gives us a second chance in disguise. You just have to recognize it when it comes." She didn't know then that she was his second chance. A few days later, everything changed. It was early morning, cold enough to see your breath. Tanya had just opened the diner when she saw flashing lights outside, an ambulance parked near the corner. Her heart dropped. She rushed out, apron still on. And there he was, Mr. Graham, being lifted onto a stretcher, eyes closed, lips pale. "Wait, what happened?" she cried. A neighbor answered softly, "Collapsed in the hall. They're taking him to County General." Tanya didn't think twice. She clocked out, grabbed her coat, and followed the ambulance in her old Honda. Hours passed in the sterile white hospital waiting room. Nurses rushed by, monitors beeped, and Tanya sat praying under her breath. When the doctor finally came out, she stood. "Is he okay?" The doctor hesitated. "He's stable for now, but he doesn't have any listed next of kin." "I'm his friend," Tanya said quickly. "Can I see him?" The doctor nodded. Inside, Walter looked smaller than ever. Tubes, machines, the faint hum of life support. But when Tanya took his hand, his eyes fluttered open. "Tanya," he whispered weakly. "I'm here. You're okay. Just rest." He tried to smile. You came." "Of course I did." He coughed, then motioned toward his satchel sitting by the chair. "Inside, envelope. Don't open it, not yet. Promise me." "I promise." "Good. Because when they come, you'll know." She frowned. "When who comes?" But before he could answer, his eyes drifted shut again. 3 days later, Tanya got a call from the hospital. Walter had passed away in his sleep. Her heart broke. She cried harder than she thought she would. He wasn't family, yet it felt like losing one. She went to his small apartment to gather his things, some books, a few clothes, and that ever-present satchel. And as she stood in that lonely room, she remembered his last words. "When they come, you'll know." And as if the universe had been listening, a loud knock echoed from the door. Tanya turned slowly. Through the peephole, she saw them, 4 tall men in black suits, and behind them, a clean-cut man in glasses holding a briefcase. The man spoke, voice calm but commanding. "Ms. Tanya Rivers, we're here on behalf of the late Mr. Walter Graham. I'm attorney Jonathan Reeves, and these men are my associates. May we come in?" Her heart froze. Because this was what Walter had meant. And she was about to find out that the quiet old man she'd been serving coffee to for months, wasn't who anyone thought he was. The air inside Walter Graham's apartment felt heavy, like the walls themselves were holding their breath. Tanya stood frozen by the door, her hand trembling slightly as she looked at the 5 men before her. 4 of them, tall, broad-shouldered, silent, stood like statues in black suits, sunglasses glinting despite the cloudy day. The 5th, the man with the briefcase, gave her a polite but calculating smile. "Ms. Rivers," he said again, voice crisp. "May we come in?" Tanya hesitated, her mind racing. The apartment was small and cramped, cluttered with old books, papers, and the faint smell of dust and coffee. Something about the situation felt surreal, like she'd stumbled into someone else's movie. Sure," she said finally, stepping aside. The men entered quietly, their movements disciplined, practiced. The lawyer set his briefcase on the small kitchen table and gestured for the others to stand by the door. "Forgive the presence of my associates. Mr. Graham's affairs are delicate." Tanya crossed her arms. "Who are you people?" The man opened his briefcase, revealing several sealed envelopes, documents, and a sleek tablet. "My name is Jonathan Reeves. I represent the legal interests of the Graham family, specifically the late Mr. Walter Graham. Family." Tanya frowned. "He told me he didn't have any family." Reeves looked up at her with a faint, knowing smile. "Mr. Graham was a man of many contradictions. I suspect you knew one side of him, the humble one. But there was more." He slid a thick folder toward her. "Mr. Graham left specific instructions should anything happen to him. You were named in those instructions." Tanya blinked. "Named? For what?" Reeves gestured to the leather satchel sitting on the armchair, the same one Walter never let out of his sight. "He told you not to open that envelope, didn't he?" Her stomach tightened. "How did you?" "Because he told us you would say that," Reeves interrupted calmly. And he told us that when the time came, you would need answers. Tanya's heartbeat quickened as she reached into the satchel, pulling out the thick, cream-colored envelope with her name written in shaky cursive. Miss Tanya Rivers. She sat slowly, the lawyer watching in silence as she broke the seal. Inside was a handwritten letter, pages filled with Walter's delicate, old-fashioned script. She began to read. My dear Tanya, if you are reading this, it means my time has come. Do not mourn for me. I lived long enough to know that not all angels have wings, some wear aprons and serve coffee with kindness. You gave me something I thought I'd lost a long time ago, dignity. I have spent years hiding from my past, ashamed of what I once was and what I let slip through my fingers. But kindness has a way of peeling back the layers of pride. You made me remember who I was meant to be. There are people who believe I died a long time ago, and perhaps, in a way, I did. The man you knew as Walter Graham, was once Walter Graham III, the founder and majority owner of Graham Holdings, a company that once stood among the Fortune 500. I left it all behind after my wife's death and the betrayal that followed. Greed consumed those around me, and when I saw what my name had become, a weapon of wealth and power, I walked away. I hid. I vanished. You must be wondering why I'm telling you this. Because you, Tanya, reminded me of the humanity money can't buy. I trust you more than I trust any blood relative or lawyer. By the time you read this, my attorneys will have arrived. Inside my will, you are mentioned as the primary executor of a specific trust, a trust that carries more weight than gold. Do not let fear or doubt stop you from opening what I've left behind. Within the next 72 hours, you will receive an invitation to New York. Go. You will understand everything soon. Your friend, Walter Graham, Tanya's eyes blurred with tears. She set the letter down, heart pounding in disbelief. He was rich. She stammered. Like, really rich? Reeves nodded. Would be an understatement. Mr. Graham built an empire before most people his age were out of college. Real estate, tech investments, offshore assets, his net worth once exceeded $2 billion. Tanya's mouth fell open. You're kidding. I don't kid about billions, Reeves replied dryly. However, most of that wealth was never claimed after he disappeared 15 years ago. Legally, he was presumed dead until recently. When he resurfaced under his own name at the hospital, his status changed, and so did the fate of those assets. Tanya gripped the edge of the table. What does that have to do with me? Reeves pushed a single document toward her. You, Ms. Rivers, were the only person listed in his active will. Everything tied to his personal estate, bank accounts, property, investments, now falls under your care until the probate process concludes. She blinked. Wait, you mean, you are the executor, Reeves clarified. Not the sole heir, but there's more. His instructions specify a private reading of his final letter in New York City at his former headquarters. You are required to attend. His remaining board of trustees will be present. She stared at him, her pulse loud in her ears. I don't understand. Why me? Reeves closed his briefcase, his tone softening slightly. Because, Ms. Rivers, sometimes the most valuable things aren't inherited by blood. They're earned by heart. That night, Tanya sat in her tiny apartment staring at the letter, the satchel, and the business card Reeves had left behind. Her son, Mason, was asleep on the couch, clutching his stuffed dinosaur. She whispered to herself, "What have you gotten me into, Walter?" 2 days later, a sleek black car pulled up outside her building. A driver in a dark coat stepped out and said, "Ms. Rivers, Mr. Reeves sent me." The ride to the airport was silent. Her mind swirled with thoughts, doubt, fear, disbelief. She'd barely left Georgia in her life, and now she was being flown first class to Manhattan like someone from another world. When she arrived at Graham Tower, a 40-story glass monument that shimmered over Fifth Avenue, she froze. The building bore his name in silver letters that gleamed in the sunlight, Graham Holdings. Inside, security escorted her through marble halls and mirrored elevators. The world here felt colder, sharper. Men in suits, women with tablets, everyone moving fast, efficient. She didn't belong here, and she knew it. At the top floor, double glass doors opened into a massive boardroom overlooking Central Park. At the head of the table sat Jonathan Reeves, flanked by 3 older men and 2 women, all board members of Graham Holdings. "Ms. Rivers," Reeves said, standing. "Thank you for coming." Tanya swallowed hard. "You said this was about Walter's will." "It is," he said, gesturing for her to sit. "But first, we need to show you something." He tapped a remote. The lights dimmed, and a large screen flickered to life. It was a video, grainy, but clear enough to show Walter sitting in what looked like his old apartment. His voice came through, frail but steady. Greater than, if you're watching this, I'm gone. And if Ms. Tanya Rivers is in that room, it means I was right about her. To the rest of you, I forgive you, but I don't forget. The empire we built was meant to help people, not destroy them. Greed poisoned our purpose, and I've chosen someone who still understands compassion. Tanya will decide what happens next. Treat her with respect, or you'll answer to me, even from the grave. The video ended, and silence filled the room. Tanya's throat tightened. Every eye was on her. One man, older with slicked back hair and an expensive watch, leaned forward. With all due respect, Mr. Reeves, are we really to believe that this, Waitress, is to oversee company decisions? Reeves adjusted his glasses. Mr. Graham's words were legally binding. Another woman spoke, her tone sharp. She has no business background. This is absurd. Tanya's voice cracked slightly, but she held her ground. I didn't ask for this. I just helped a man who needed a friend. Reeves nodded solemnly, which is exactly why he trusted you. The board argued quietly, but Reeves silenced them with a raised hand. The terms are clear. Ms. Rivers will serve as moral executor and liaison for the distribution of Graham's personal trust. The company remains under board control, but she holds authority over the foundation, valued at approximately $180 million. The room went dead silent. Tanya blinked. 180 million. Reeves nodded. To be used at your discretion for philanthropic purposes. However, Mr. Graham suspected that certain individuals would attempt to challenge his will or conceal financial misconduct. That's why he requested my firm, and these men, he gestured to the 4 bodyguards, to protect you until the matter is settled. Tanya's head spun. Protect me? From who? Reeves sighed. That is the question. The following days felt like a whirlwind. Tanya was escorted everywhere. Hotel, meetings, document signings. News outlets caught wind of the story. Homeless heiress discovered in billionaire's will. Reporters hounded her outside every building. But behind the glamour was tension. Files started disappearing from Graham Holdings servers. Anonymous emails warned her to walk away. One night, while reviewing documents in her hotel suite, a message flashed on her phone. Greater than, you don't know what he really did. Don't trust the lawyers. Before she could respond, her hotel phone rang. Reeves's voice came through, urgent. Tanya, stay in your room. Do not open the door for anyone. Security's on the way. Her heart pounded. What's happening? There's been a breach. Someone accessed Mr. Graham's sealed archive. Whoever it is, they're not doing it for charity. A knock sounded at the door. Slow, deliberate. Tanya, came a familiar voice. It's me, Reeves. Let me in. She froze. He'd just called her from the lobby. The knock came again, harder. Tanya, open up. Her eyes darted to the peephole. A man stood outside wearing a black suit. But something was off. The tie was wrong. The badge was fake. She backed away slowly, gripping her phone. Seconds later, the door rattled as someone tried the lock. Then, bang, a loud crash echoed through the hallway. Shouts, running footsteps. The door burst open, this time from the other side. Reeves and 2 real security guards rushed in, weapons drawn. The imposter was gone. Reeves turned to her, breathing hard. That's what I was afraid of. Tanya's voice shook. Who are they? Reeves stared toward the dark hallway. Someone who knows the real reason Mr. Graham disappeared 15 years ago. That night, Tanya couldn't sleep. She read Walter's letter again and again, searching for hidden meaning. Finally, she noticed something. 3 words underlined faintly near the end, truth beneath floors. Her mind raced back to his apartment. The creaky floorboards, the uneven panel near his bookshelf. She called Reeves immediately. We need to go back to Ashbrook. Within hours, they were on a private flight south. When they arrived, she led them to Walter's apartment. The landlord, shocked by the corporate entourage, handed over the keys. Inside, the place was untouched. Dust lay thick on every surface. Tanya knelt by the bookshelf, pressing on the warped plank. It gave way with a soft click. Underneath, wrapped in cloth, lay a small metal box. Reeves picked the lock carefully. Inside were several flash drives, a worn photograph of a young Walter and his wife, and a stack of handwritten notes. The notes were blueprints, financial records, and one document labeled simply, Project Reclamation. Reeves's face went pale. Oh my God, Tanya frowned. What is it? He looked up slowly. Proof that Graham Holdings funded illegal surveillance contracts with the government, under false humanitarian fronts. He walked away because he refused to be part of it. Tanya stared at him, horrified. You mean, he was being hunted? Reeves nodded grimly. And now you're in the middle of it. The metal box sat open on the worn table of Walter Graham's old apartment, its contents glinting beneath the dim ceiling bulb. Tanya's hands trembled as she sifted through the documents, the faint smell of dust and age rising like ghosts from the past. Each page told a story of power twisted into corruption, contracts signed under shell companies, fake humanitarian programs funneling money to surveillance labs, and the names of politicians and executives who'd all been bought with quiet precision. Reeves looked pale as he scrolled through the files on the flash drive. These aren't just internal audits. This is evidence of criminal conspiracy on a national scale. Tanya's voice was soft. He tried to stop them. That's why he left. Reeves nodded grimly. And that's why someone tried to keep him silent. But now the silence belongs to you. Before she could answer, a sudden noise cracked through the stillness, the creak of a floorboard outside the door. Reeves motioned for her to stay quiet. One of the bodyguards drew his weapon, signaling the others. Then the lock clicked. The door swung open slowly, and a figure stepped inside. A woman in a dark coat, mid-40s, with sharp eyes and a calm, calculating posture. Don't shoot, she said evenly. I'm not your enemy. Reeves frowned. Identify yourself. She pulled out a worn ID and tossed it onto the table. Detective Lena Holt, NYPD Major Crimes. I've been chasing this file for 15 years. Tanya blinked. You're a detective. Off the record, Holt replied. Graham came to me once, back when he disappeared. Said he had proof of government embezzlement through private contracts. Then he vanished, and everyone who helped him vanished, too. Reeves crossed his arms. Convenient timing for you to show up now. Holt met his gaze coolly. You're not the only one who got an anonymous tip. Someone wants this information buried again, and they'll kill for it. I'm here to make sure that doesn't happen. Tanya could feel the room tightening with tension. So what do we do? Holt nodded toward the papers. We move this evidence somewhere safe. Then we expose the truth, publicly. That's what Graham wanted. Reeves hesitated. If we go public, those names will bring down half of Washington. The company, the shareholders. The truth doesn't wait for permission, Holt snapped. Before Reeves could respond, another sound ripped through the night, glass shattering. Down, one of the guards yelled. Bullets cracked the air, slicing through the thin walls. Tanya ducked behind the table, heart hammering in her chest. Reeves pulled her close as plaster rained down around them. Get her out, Holt shouted, drawing her own weapon. Now, two guards grabbed Tanya, hustling her through the back hallway toward the fire escape. Another round of shots followed them. Somewhere behind, Holt returned fire, her voice steady amid chaos. Outside, the night air was cold and sharp. Sirens wailed in the distance. Tanya's legs felt weak as they sprinted through the alley, ducking behind dumpsters and crates until the gunfire faded. They reached the car, one of the black sedans parked down the block. Reeves climbed in beside her, breathless. They knew exactly where we were. Tanya's voice trembled. How could they? Only you and I knew about the box. Reeves stared straight ahead, silent. The realization hit her slowly. Reeves. He met her gaze, eyes heavy with something she couldn't read. There are things I didn't tell you, Tanya. Walter didn't just hire me. He tested me. He knew I was on retainer for Graham Holdings long before he left. He wanted to see whether I'd stay loyal to truth or to money. Her stomach dropped. And which did you choose? His jaw tightened. I'm still deciding. Before she could respond, Holt's car screeched to a halt behind them, headlights flashing. She jumped out, shouting, Move! They're tracking you. Reeves slammed the accelerator, tires screeching against wet asphalt. The convoy roared down the highway, dark silhouettes following in the rearview mirror. Who are they? Tanya shouted over the wind. Private security from Graham Holdings' Shadow Division, Holt replied from the back seat. Walter's nephew runs it now, Darren Graham. He took over after Walter disappeared. If these documents come out, he loses everything. Tanya's hands clenched in her lap. So he sent people to kill us. Not just you, Holt said grimly. Anyone who knows the truth. The road twisted through backcountry forest. Headlights flickered behind them, two SUVs gaining fast. Reeves veered down an unmarked road, tires spitting gravel. Where are we going? Tanya yelled. To someone Walter trusted, Reeves answered. A safe house. Branches scraped the windows as they tore down a narrow dirt path, finally stopping at a secluded cabin surrounded by pine trees. Inside, the air smelled of cedar and dust. Reeves turned on a lamp and faced her. You need to understand something. Walter didn't just run from corruption, he built a failsafe to destroy it. What kind of failsafe? Tanya asked. He pulled out another flash drive, the one he'd found taped beneath the metal box's lid. This contains every transaction tied to Project Reclamation. But it's encrypted with a key phrase only one person knows. Tanya blinked. Who? He looked at her carefully. You. She froze. Me. I don't. How would I know that? Reeves smiled faintly. Think about the phrase in his letter, truth beneath floors. He left clues for you, Tanya. You're the only one who can open it. She shook her head. I don't understand. I'm just a waitress. Reeves stepped closer, his tone soft. No, you're the only person he trusted. And there's something else you don't know about him, about you. Holt interrupted sharply. We don't have time for riddles. They'll find us soon. But Reeves ignored her. He reached into his coat and handed Tanya a folded birth certificate. Her name was on it. And below it, two names she'd never seen before. Her mother's, and under father, Walter Graham III. Tanya's knees nearly gave out. No, that's impossible. Reeves's voice was quiet. He found out only a year ago. Your mother worked at his foundation before he disappeared. He didn't know she had you. When he met you at the diner, he recognized your eyes, your laugh. That's why he came back every day. Tears streamed down her face. He knew, and he didn't tell me. He wanted to, Reeves said softly. But he thought you'd never forgive him. So instead, he gave you what he couldn't give anyone else, a chance to make things right. Tanya sank onto the couch, heart pounding. Everything, the coffee, the stories, the letter, suddenly made sense. Holt crouched beside her. Then you understand what's at stake. Your father built this system. Now you can end it. Tanya wiped her tears and looked at the flash drive in Reeves's hand. Then let's end it.